Stop it!
Hey, don't do that!
Do that! Oh, in the bar!
Look out, you drunk basket! Hey, watch it!
Oh, get off me! Get it off me!
Get me down from here! Damn you! Damn you! Get me down!
Hurry on! Hey!